This is where human kidneys are being traded. And it's happening right out in the open.
Back then I was, or maybe even still am, selfish because I wanted that kidney.
If I could go back in time, I would have never agreed to any of this.
They are making money via children like Amon.
For a fact, this is organized crime.
Why has Eldoret in Kenya become an international hotspot for organ trafficking?
There are very powerful people who may be involved. My life could be in danger.
In a months-long investigation with German media organizations Der Spiegel and ZDF, we researched a multi-million organ trafficking network reaching far beyond Kenya's borders. And its devastating impact on those affected. This is Amon Kipruto Meli, 22 years old, from a village in western Kenya. He sold his kidney to start a new, better life. But the promises turned out to be false. Like many young Kenyans, he struggled to find steady income, moving from one job to the next, until one day a friend told him about a quick and easy way to earn a lot of money.
He told me selling your kidney was a great deal. I used to refuse over and over again. But then one day I finally agreed to it. Then he put me in contact with them.
Amon was promised $6,000 for his kidney, a lot of money in a country where the average monthly income is only around $500. A middleman took him to Medihill Hospital in Eldoret, where he was received by a team of Indian doctors, Amon says. But he was still worried about potential health risks.
They did not explain anything to me. The one who had taken me pointed at people around us and said, "Look, they all donated and they are okay. They are even going back to work."
They took blood and tissue tests from Amon. Then he met the person who was supposed to receive his kidney, an elderly Somali woman, Amon says. Then 2 doctors asked him to sign documents in English that he didn't understand.
He asked me how old I was, and when I told him, he said I was too young. Then he said I would still be okay, and there was no problem.
Amon had just turned 22. He had the surgery, and after only a few days of recovery, he says, they paid him less than agreed, $4,000 instead of $6,000, and sent him home. He used the money to buy a phone and a car that soon broke down. Shortly after, he started to feel miserable. He wasn't eating, felt dizzy, and had pains in his lower abdomen.
He fainted, so I decided to rush him to hospital.
There, doctors told her Amon was missing one of his kidneys. She was shocked to learn he had sold it.
They are making money. They are making money through young children like me. They didn't console me. I found only the child when he fainted. That is where I found that he does not have one kidney.
She reported the incident to the police. We will later meet the investigator working on organ trafficking cases in Eldoret. In the town of Oyugis, a 180-kilometer drive away, Willis Okumu has been trying to find out what's behind the rumors of young men selling their kidneys. He's done research for a project implemented by Interpol and spoke with some of these young men.
These guys are preying on vulnerabilities of young people from a poor country. And most of these young people, again, are also one of the most vulnerable within this society.
We meet 4 men who claim to have gone through a similar process like Amon. They say they too have sold their kidneys at Mediheal Hospital in the past 3 years. They also claim no health risks were explained to them before surgery. They also believe the promise of a better life.
I went there because I had a dream of building a house, and I thought I could get a job to sustain me.
They were only paid $2,000 each, they say. Kennedy bought a motorbike on credit, but soon he couldn't pay the loan and the creditors took it away. They all say recruiters working with Mediheal offered them a $400 commission for each donor they recruit. One of them recruited 2 people, he says, but stopped after.
It's a way to exploit people. It is just some people getting rich. There is no benefit from it at all because you are given only very little money.
How come this has been going on for years, seemingly undisturbed?
There's a legal gray area that this syndicate is exploiting. So because there's no law that prevents you from actually donating your kidney for money, and you cannot be prosecuted for that. The police, we asked people at Transnational Organized Crime Unit at the DCI, and they told us that, we can't actually prosecute these guys, we can't even arrest them, because the law is silent on this.
What is allowed, though, according to Kenyan law, is organ donations to relatives or for altruistic reasons. Many of those who sold their kidneys, Willis Okumu says, have developed depression and alcoholism because they couldn't fulfill their dreams, or they had to cut back on work because of persistent health problems.
I don't think it takes a lot of knowledge to know that this guy is not going to live for long, because they're not eating well, and they already have 1 kidney, and they're into alcohol. I don't think they're going to reach 60. For a fact, this is organized crime.
We want to understand how the system operates and managed to speak with a former long-term employee of Mediheal Hospital. The buying and selling of transplants started many years ago, he says. First with Kenyan donors and Somali recipients. Then, starting in 2022, recipients came from Israel and, as of last year, Germany. Many of the donors of these well-paying customers are flown in from Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, or Pakistan. Our source tells us donors had to sign documents stating they were not being paid and they were relatives to recipients they have never met.
Because of the language barrier, they just signed. Some of them, they weren't even old enough. They were below the age.
For kidney recipients, there was no cut-off age, no risk too high, he says. The oldest was 102 years old, he recalls.
At Mediheal, there's a surgeon who is just after money. No matter how old you are, he'll do the transplant.
He tells us one recipient even died during surgery, and the body had to be flown to their home country. Another with pre-existing conditions barely made it out alive, he claims. Ever since the switch from Somali recipients to Israelis and Germans, business has been booming, he says. Each recipient pays $200,000 for a kidney, he says. A person called Robert, working for the agency MedLead, oversees this part of the network.
We have a chain from Robert to Kenya. Robert is dealing with Israel, Pakistan, and now Germany. Robert finds the recipient and the donors. They don't come from Israel, and some even come from Pakistan.
We want to learn more about Robert's company, MedLead. On its website it reads, "Restart your life," and more than 1,000 successful kidney transplants. It promises a transplantation in only 30 days, and it also says everything is done according to organ donation law, and promises the donors are altruistic and found via organ donation organizations. We also find Medley Germany's Facebook page, where they post testimonial videos of their clients. We click on the most recent video.
I've had kidney problems for 40 years. I happened to find MedLead while on the internet, and I decided to have a second transplant abroad. It all went wonderfully, and I can't recommend it enough.
Reporters with Der Spiegel and ZDF, who we collaborated with for this investigation, traveled to her home in Gunzenhausen, Germany, to meet her. She shows them local newspaper articles that had published her moving story. Ever since she was 16, she's been suffering from a kidney disease and later needed dialysis until she received her first new kidney at age 25. For 30 years, she lived a normal life. But then 4 years ago, her body started rejecting the kidney. Desperately, the now 58-year-old started looking for a second one. Her husband didn't match, and her son was considered too young at 22. The waiting list in Germany is long. It can take 8 to 10 years to receive a kidney. Why does it take so long? There's a high demand for organs in Germany, with relatively few donors each year. If you don't have a relative or close friend who's willing to donate, then you have to wait for someone to die who has agreed beforehand to donate their organs, with an organ donation ID card, for example. Those who have not voiced or documented their agreement are not considered for organ donation. This is also the case in India and Pakistan, for example, as well as other countries shown here in red. But for the countries in blue, the opposite is the case. Unless people have not explicitly voiced or documented their unwillingness to donate, they will be considered for donation after death. After stumbling upon the MedLead website, Sabine Fischer-Kugler found it convincing.
The website was really well done. It wasn't just a shopping website that simply stated you can buy yourself a new kidney. There was a lot of information there.
In her contract with MedLead, it says clearly that she, as the kidney recipient, is not paying the donor directly.
That would be a typical organ trafficking situation. You give me your kidney, and I'll give you money. It states in the contract that I am not allowed to do that. Instead, everything is done through the organization. And it also says in the contract that you pay the organization, the hospital, and the doctor. So other than that, I am not legally involved.
A misconception. Even as a recipient, she could be prosecuted under German law and face up to 5 years in prison, if the organ has indeed been bought. She met her donor briefly and only knows that he's a 24-year-old man from Azerbaijan.
Of course, it doesn't sound right at all when you say, "Okay, I'll pay for this kidney." That the donor gets money for it is well known to everyone, but it's not in the contract. And the money didn't directly come from me, which was important to me. And yeah, maybe I'm a bit selfish because I wanted this kidney, and most importantly, the contract looked all right, but it's clear. The operation isn't as clean as it looks.
We take a closer look at MedLead's head, Robert Spolansky, the same Robert that the former hospital employee mentioned earlier. We find a website of a gym in Israel that he ostensibly owns. And we find his name in a 2016 indictment by the Tel Aviv Magistrate Court. In it, he's accused of being part of a criminal network headed by an Israeli citizen named Boris Wolfman. According to the indictment, the network is responsible for performing a large number of illegal kidney transplants in Sri Lanka and Turkey, the Philippines and Thailand. Allegedly, Wolfman had already been involved in illegal transplantation activities elsewhere. He did not respond to interview requests. Robert Spolansky left Israel in 2013. It's unclear where he's now. He denies any connection with Wolfman. In an email to Der Spiegel, ZDF and DW, Medlead states it has no involvement in locating donors and that all donors are 100% altruistic, and that Medlead has been operating transparently and in full compliance with the law since its foundation. According to our research, before and after the kidney transplant, Medlead's patients are staying at the Icke Hotel in Eldoret. The following has been filmed with a hidden camera. Many white, older people are in the hotel. Some of them look frail and sick. A Russian couple is having breakfast here too. They say they are still waiting for their test results. The man would be the recipient. Do they know if the donors will be paid?
Nobody gives away their kidney for free.
A family from Israel is also here. They came all the way so that their daughter could receive a new kidney here.
It's really perfect. They have a success rate of 98%.
They also are here because of Medlead, they say.
Medlead, it's called.
Medlead. It's a company that's sitting in Turkey or
London.
The next day. At this clinic, Mediheal patients are supposedly receiving dialysis this morning. A 72-year-old man from Israel says he's waiting for his kidney transplant.
you don't know who your donor is going to be. It's a little fishy. You're not supposed to pay, but you pay. So sometimes you have to sign that it's all fine. But it's not. In Israel, you have to wait between 7 to 10 years. So for me, there's no solution.
Is he going to meet his donor?
I'm going to meet mine also, yes. And the story is that it's an old cousin of mine that somehow came to be in East Africa at the same time as me. Something like this.
He hopes to have his transplant made in a week's time, and that it will all go well. But what happens if it doesn't go well? Dr. Jonathan Waller has treated several patients who came back from having a kidney transplant at Mediheal Hospital. He heads the Kenya Renal Association, an umbrella group of kidney specialists.
We also have reports of Israelis, patients who come back with severe infections, who come back with past collections around the kidney, who have gone back with kidneys that have basically died.
Together with international advocacy groups for transplants, Dr. Waller has called Kenya's health ministry to action. And it seemed to work. A 2023 fact-finding mission conducted by the Kenya Blood Transfusion and Transplant Service into Mediheal found recipients and donors were indeed, in many cases, not related. Transplants were conducted despite poor matching results. High-risk transplants were conducted, including cancer and extreme ages. Of note, all foreign surgeries on both donor and recipient were cash transactions. The report recommends the allegation of organ trafficking must be investigated by relevant authorities. It also advises a follow-up inspection in 3 months' time. The report was never published, nor its conclusions implemented. We meet with a criminal investigator working on organ trafficking cases in Eldoret. He says he's been having difficulties investigating these cases because of a climate of fear. And it's not just Mediheal, he says.
We have about 2-3 facilities where transplants have been done illegally.
A high-ranking security source confirmed this to DW. He says he forwarded his findings to the public prosecutor's office, but with no response. He's felt resistance while trying to investigate.
I feel it because there are external forces. Being organized crime, there are very powerful people who may be involved. There are many ways they can block activity.
What would happen if he tried to expose them?
My life would be in danger. I need to be very cautious.
Looking at the scale of this business, Does it go up to the top?
Yeah.
So what's behind this? Several of our sources allege the multi-million-dollar business is being protected by people in high government positions. The founder and chairman of the Mediheal Group is Swarup Mishra. He's a former MP and is said to have good relations with Kenya's President William Ruto. Despite persistent organ trafficking accusations, the president appointed him as the chairman of the Kenya Biovax Vaccine Institute. In this role, he represents Kenya as a contact person for the WHO and foreign government officials. Mishra did not respond to repeated interview requests and left a list of questions unanswered. Back to Amon, the donor, and his mother. Leah Metto never heard back from the police after reporting that her son Amon had sold his kidney.
This business is not good because as you help one person, the other one is suffering. If someone's kidney isn't functioning, why go and then remove one from another person? You're leaving them to die. This is exploitation. When I found out that my son was sick, if I had not taken him to the hospital, he would have died.
Even though he's only 22, Amon is not able to lift heavy objects or do any physical labor. His mother struggles financially to care for him and pay his sister's school fees. She worries about what will happen when she gets older. She had already prepared a job application for Amon. He was supposed to travel to Egypt. His reference letter was just written days before the surgery.
I feel terrible. Right now, I feel like I hate myself.
He feels like they took advantage of him.
If I could go back in time, I would have not accepted anything. I would have not accepted to remove my kidney, even if they had tried to convince me. Because right now, things are desperate.